is, what is the link of patriarchy with violence against women and non-provision of basic human rights to women? What is patriarchy? When did it originate and where? Patriarchy in Western societies and dark ages of Europe. The gradual recovery of the West, the right to vote, etc. Patriarchy in Muslim societies, Arab medieval tribes and norms. Advent of Islam, the tribes of Quraysh and the early Muslims. The impacts of colonization on Muslim societies. The misinterpretation of Islam, what happened, how, and what was the end results. Basically, why we are where we are today. So what is the link of patriarchy with violence or non-provision of basic human rights to women? So deprivation of basic human rights and violence normally result from disparity or inequality in power, income, or abilities. So basically, it's a pattern of dominance, power, and control. Interpersonal violence and deprivation of basic human rights is mostly used to gain or exercise power. That is, to take control of another person by taking advantage of unequal power dynamics. It's because of this reason that it is often committed by men against women and girls, able-bodied over people with disabilities, citizens over immigrants, legal over undocumented ones, people with high status over people with low status, rich over poor, etc. And it is because of this patriarchy, the male-dominated mindset, is the most single basis and significant basis leading cause of deprivation of basic human rights. It's because of this that this is the single most reason of violence against women. So what is patriarchy? Patriarchy basically originated from ancient Greek language, meaning the rule of the father. It's an ideology in which men have power as head of the family. It's like a never-ending cycle for women where she is initially deemed submissive to her father or her brother and later to her husband after marriage. Men is granted a superior position over women both at home and then extending to more societal and cultural zones. This authority is not just exercised in homes over wives and children, but also outside over women in general in all walks of life. So patriarchy is basically a system of structures and practices in which men dominate, oppress, and exploit women. Women, on the other hand, are viewed as either dependents on men needing to be protected or cared for, or as tools of power in service to men. Women are never considered truly whole or independent of men, let alone be treated equal to them or deserving of basic human rights. So let's take a look at the history of patriarchy. We'll first start with Western and European societies and countries. So it starts from as early as 3000 years before the birth of Christ. So the practice that permits a man to physically discipline his wife dates back earliest times of the recorded history. Church as well as common law allowed punishment for wives who were in disagreements with their husbands. Beat her not in rage, but out of charity and concern for her soul, so that the beating will redound to your merit and her good. So basically, this was from the church. So basically the beating was to be done as a noble cause for her own good in order to discipline her. So now we come to around 300 years before the birth of Christ, the works of Aristotle, which portrayed women as morally, intellectually, and physically inferior to men, as the property of men, and claimed that women's role in society was to reproduce and to serve men in the household. Now do keep in mind that Aristotle was one of the most influential Greek philosophers of all time. Now let's compare the Arab societies with that of European. We are discussing again the same era, around 300 to 400 before the birth of Christ. And we are looking at the example of Egyptian women who used to attend business and markets. They used to be employed in trade and commerce. In ancient Egypt, middle-class women were eligible to sit on local tribunal and court hearings. They were also engaged in real estate transactions and inherit, buy, sell, or donate property. They could also secure loans and witness legal documents. So if you look at all of these activities, we would realize that European Greek women were denied such basic human rights that women in Egypt were accustomed to, and they used to take it, used to exercise these rights. Now we are discussing an era between 300 years before the birth of Christ to 600 years after the death of Christ. So between 300 BC to 600, Greek influence spread out to the rest of the world, mostly with invasions of Alexander the Great. As we all know, he was the most successful of the military commander in the history, who was educated by Aristotle and therefore was influenced by Aristotle's patriarchal approach. And he created one of the great empires stretching from Greece to northwest India. And through him, the Greek influence of patriarchy spread out to the rest of the world. During the 200 years before the birth of Christ to 220 after the death of Christ, in China, they adopted the philosophical thoughts of Master Kong as official religion and law of the China. And as per this philosophical thoughts, it placed the value on woman based on her obedience and loyalty. So for instance, this is a chapter out of this philosopher. An obedient woman is to obey and be subservient to her father before her marriage, her husband after her marriage, and her first son if widowed. 200 years before the birth of Christ, we saw the first ever achievement in Europe whereby women were allowed the right to sue their husbands for unjustified beatings, which mean that the justified beating were still allowed as per law. In order to discipline the wife, the husband has to have the justification which was allowed as per law. So now we are discussing around 20 years before the birth of Christ up until around 400 years after the death of Christ, up until the Roman era. It was as per law. So for example, the laws of chastisement which permit husband to beat his wife with a stick no thicker than a man's thumb. Hence the expression rule of thumb, which is very, very prevalent in our modern English language. Now let's discuss old medieval Arab. We are discussing around 600 AD, which was the time of the birth of our beloved prophet. The Arabian Peninsula was home to settled tribes and nomads, various tribal norms and tribal cultures that have evolved over time, becoming more patriarchal with the passage of time. The practice and extent of patriarchy varies from one tribe to the next. Some were more patriarchal than the others. However, in most tribes, by around 600 AD, the role for women was perceived by men as being limited to offering sexual pleasures, household chores, and bearing and raising of children. So in these patriarchal tribes, which were more patriarchal in nature, the most common practices were female infanticide, deliberate killing of newborn female children, practice of absolute polygamy, marriage of one man to many women was common to reduce the power and control wives had in the family to negotiate their rights and responsibilities, the forced marriage of women captured during the war to the conqueror as property, which means that the right of the eldest son to inherit his father's wife, as she was viewed as an asset, as a property. As gifts and status symbols, the practice of the husband to offer his wife for a short period to a guest or lend her to a friend during his absence. Now let's look at the Quraysh tribe, which was the tribe of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. As we all know, the Quraysh tribe of our beloved Prophet was the tribe where his wife, Hazrat Khatija, also belonged to. And we know that Hazrat Khatija was an independent businesswoman. She was strong and assertive. She actively participated in all affairs of her life. Also, we know the common titles given to our beloved Prophet was Sadiq and Amin. The common titles given to Hazrat Khatija was Al-Tahira, which means pure or pious. Amirat Quraysh, which means princess of Quraysh. Khadijatul Kubra, which means Khatija the Great. So had the Quraysh tribe been be like the rest of the Arabian tribe, which were more patriarchal in nature, she would never have been able to be an independent businesswoman. She would never ever be able to participate in all the activities that and all the affairs of life that she was able to participate in, and she would not have been able to be that strong and assertive. And all of these titles were given to her by the tribe of Quraysh. So that shows that the tribe of Quraysh was not as patriarchal to the other tribes. So this shows that during the dark ages of Arab, there were tribes which were different from the overall patriarchal tribes of the rest of the Arabian Peninsula, which were less patriarchal in nature. We also know that she was married to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when she was 40 years of age and the Prophet was 25 years of age. And we also know that after the marriage, he did not ask her to let go of the trading activities. She continued to be a strong businesswoman. On the contrary, he started helping her out in her trading activities as well. So it was a complete non-patriarchal relationship in terms of mutual support and respect. Even Quran revelation, when Quran was revealed 15 years after their marriage, at that point of time, we know that she was the person who gave strength and courage to our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. She was the first person to have accepted Islam. And not only that, during the next 10 years of Makkah, which was the hardest and the most difficult period for our beloved Prophet, she was there as a pillar of strength and support to her. She died just 2 years before the migration, before Hijrah of migration from Makkah to Medina. At that point of time, the age of our beloved Prophet was 50 years and she was 65 years of age. And up until the death of Hazrat Khatija, their relationship was a role model for all of us in terms of no segregation of duties and responsibilities. There was no domination of anyone over anyone. It was built out of mutual respect and strength and support for each other. Earlier Muslims, we're talking about the era after the Quran revelation up until the golden era. The earlier Muslim, we know that the revelation of Quran was a message of universal equality among all humans, irrespective of gender, class, status, race, equal status for both women and men. Islam was a religion that elevated the status of women in earlier societies with basic human rights, equality of both genders, responsibilities and rights. This is a huge topic that we're going to discuss in our next presentation. We also know that our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, strongly supported an egalitarian system of equality. The earlier Muslim societies were much more progressive for women than today's Muslim world. There was no possibility of any kind of discrimination between the two genders. It was a just society, strict in terms of moral and ethical behavior and justice, same rules and restrictions imposed on both men and women. Now let's come to dark ages of Europe. This was the time which corresponded with the golden era of Islam, and we are talking about 7th century up until 19th century. The dark ages of Europe was marked by height of illiteracy and superstition. It was a highly patriarchal society, use of churches, laws of the land and religion, and changing of Bible verses in order to incorporate patriarchal mindset into the laws and the religion. I would also like to point out the witch hunt drive that was carried out between 14th to 16th century. It was a very targeted drive involving the law, the state, the government, the lawyers, the church, the priest. It was a very targeted drive to to announce and to announce all the women as witches, and then they used to be executed publicly in the name that they are being declared as witch. So because of this witch drive, thousands and thousands of women were killed and prosecuted during this witch hunt drive. If you want to get more depth of this, you can watch this movie, The Devil's Wife. It is filmed and it shows Finland, Europe during the witch hunt drive, and you can get much better position, much better aspect of this. The suffrage movement, the right to get the vote, it began in 1878, and it took the women almost 100 years of this movement to finally be able to get the right of vote. And we're talking about 20th century. So they started the movement in 1878. It took them 100 years. So the movement started in 19th century. The movement culminated with the right of the vote being given to women as recent as 20th century. So we're talking about just the previous century. We are in the 21st century. So it was only the last century that they were able to get the right to vote. Women were not considered equal to men up until 1929. We're talking about, again, 20th century, which was the time when at the very first time they were allowed certain basics as per law to be considered equal to men, as per few provisions only. Before that, they were not even allowed, they were not even considered equal to men. So even from that time and onwards, the West and the Western countries and the European countries are trying their best to bridge the gender gap, because they realize that a patriarchal society can never succeed. But even today, the West is mostly patriarchal in nature, with only a handful who have succeeded in getting over a patriarchy. I'll just give you one indication of this. So if you look at the United States of America, for instance, there's a lack of equality between genders. In USA, in terms of all walks of life, one of the indication is that in USA, 1 out of every 4 women suffer interpersonal violence of one sort or another, which is a huge number. So impacts of colonization on Muslim society, this happened during 18th to 19th century. Do keep in mind that the European and the Western countries were still going through their heightened state of patriarchal mindsets. So colonization is a huge research in itself. I cannot dwell into the depth of it. I'll just highlight one aspect of colonization. So colonization was a very scientific, very disciplined, ruthless, brutal suppression at multiple level by these European countries of the Muslim countries. So it was suppression at physical level through physical imprisonment, physical abuse, physical torture. It was a physical suppression, then it was ideological suppression through language and culture and ideologies, etc. It was an economical suppression through stealing of our wealth and our finances, and by pushing us into wars and famine and hunger. It was an economical suppression. So it was through the suppression at multiple level that we got enslaved in our mindset to the colonized power, the phenomena which is known as colonial mentality, which means that we got enslaved to our colonized powers. For example, the Muslims of Indian subcontinent were colonized by Britishers, Spanish Muslims were colonized by Spain, the African countries were colonized by a combination of different European countries, the Central Asian countries were colonized by Russia, and so on and so forth. Countries like Egypt and Algeria were colonized by French, and so on and so forth. So we got enslaved in our mindset to these colonized powers. And what happened in a colonial mentality is that you tend to copy your masters, you tend to copy the colonized powers, and in our bid to, because of these enslaved mindset to the colonized powers, because we believe that our masters, these colonized powers, are sitting at the top, we have to copy them, and we copied them through laws and religion, and therefore we inculcated patriarchal mindset, and we transferred the patriarchal mindset into Muslim societies as well. So what happened exactly? There were two things that happened. First was that Arabian tribal traditions got integrated into Islamic heritage, which means that the line between religion and culture and history of these tribal norms got blurred. And all of this combined became part of the Islamic heritage. And secondly, because of the colonization, the enslaved mindset and copying of our colonized power meant embracing laws and religion which endorsed and supported patriarchy. I'll give you two examples, one in each area of religion and law. So for instance, in religion, we misinterpreted Quranic ayahs to introduce the rule of thumb. So what we did was we allowed the beating of the wife by the husband with a stick no thicker than the thumb of the man, thereby transferring the rule of thumb into our religion as well. In terms of laws, wherever these colonized European countries carried out the colonization, one aspect of this colonization was to replace the local laws with the laws of the colonized powers. So one example is the dissolution of the Muslim Marriages Act of 1939, which substituted much more progressive Sharia law at the time, thereby taking back the right to divorce from the woman. Even gradually, up until now, it is still not as per the same Sharia law which was in force at the time the colonization took place. So khula through courts is still extremely difficult for a woman to get divorced. So how was it done? Impacted by Arabian tribal norms and colonizations, the teaching of Islam got misinterpreted by mostly male scholars. As we all know, there's a serious shortage of female scholars. So male scholars unintentionally, because of these two impacts, embedded male-centric mindsets to the religion, supportive of male dominance and patriarchy. Quranic Islamic legislation, Sharia law that restricts women's rights results from the way Quran was and continues to be interpreted, mostly again by male scholars. Manipulation of Islam to make it patriarchy or man-centric religion took place. So the sad reality of today is that the religion with the message of universal equality is now viewed as the most male-centric religions of all in today's world. So what was the end result? There are many common misinterpretations of Islam through which the patriarchal mindset have been inculcated in Muslim societies. So what is now happening? There are many physical and non-physical restrictions that have been placed on women in order to control them and in order to dominate them. Men as in charge of women, Kawamun of women, they're allowed to beat and discipline their wife, and the wife and the role of the woman as subservient or obedient to men. Idea of forced marriages, polygamy, multiple marriages of men, the role of women limited to household and to bear and raise children, women as property, lack of education, controlled and disciplined by men, deprivation of basic human rights of women, honor women as holders, men as protectors, giving men right to discipline and control women as they deem fit, even to the extent of killing them in the name of honor. And it's because of all of these and many other aspects of patriarchy that have been embedded in Muslim societies, that is why the topic for our next presentation is God-given and basic human rights of women as per Quran.